Bearcat Bounce Podcast, back at it again. Special edition, Tuesday Day Podcast, day after 4th of July Podcast. The fireworks are still going off in the background podcast. That's right, the BBP took the Monday night position off last night, but we are back better than ever, as always, joined by my two guys, partners, pals. I get the matinee version of Aaron Smith and Chad Brendel today, and I'm excited to see what they bring me. Aaron, Chad, gentlemen, how are we?
Pretty good. Had a good holiday. Spent some time with family. Cooked out. Had a couple fire pits. Watched some fireworks.
Okay.
Last night was interesting though.
What's that?
So I've got some neighbors 2 doors down.
Right.
That kind of a pain in the ass.
Okay.
And they let the 13-year-olds, like a group of 10 13-year-olds, set off at least $4,000 worth of fireworks, like big ones. And one of them went astray, as you would expect. Hit my stepbrother in the arm, almost exploded underneath their car. Yeah, that's why you don't let 13-year-olds light off mortar shells into the sky.
Right.
So it kind of ruined the experience last night.
Yeah, what time was that at? Was that pretty late, or was that?
No, it's like this. I mean, they're 13. It's not like they were drunk. I don't think they were drunk.
I hope not.
It's like 10, 15.
Wow. Your brother-in-law's all right?
Yeah, he's all right. It just dotted him a little bit.
Okay. Gosh.
No, I don't have any fried chicken for the podcast. Maybe I'll do fried chicken tonight. Long story.
Long story. Deal.
My Twitter stalker called me fat and said that I eat fried chicken every day. I'm like, well, I'm fat and I eat a lot of fried chicken, but not every day. Fat people, we eat a lot of things.
Fried chicken every day.
Yeah, I mean,
rest in peace, Nate Dogg.
I'm doing well. I smoked. I used my smoker for the first time. Made a nice pork butt.
Okay.
I made one too. I made one for Saturday or Sunday night.
Okay.
First one turned out really, really well. Had some leftovers today for lunch.
Okay.
And I also picked up the new Lindy's.
Oh,
I have a 2-page spread in.
Let's go, baby.
Just saying.
Hey.
So that was pretty fun. I found it at CVS. So for those,
were you standing there holding it up to everybody like, "This is me"?
I did tell
I did this.
I did tell the lady that was there. I was like, "This is the first thing I've ever been published in." So it's pretty cool.
She give it to you free?
No, she was just like, "Oh my god, congratulations!"
I'm in the midst of
I'm in this magazine, right?
I did this.
I actually did read that walking through Walmart one time. You did a good job, Aaron.
Still unfortunate that they don't put anyone's name in there for whatever reason. I don't know what that's all about, but
because they want you to think that Lindy is the one that does all of it.
Sure.
Every single team. I mean, growing up, I kind of thought that's what it was. I thought it was the one guy just wrote about every single team. I was like, wow, this guy is just extremely smart.
Is there a baby crying in the background?
Yeah, that would be my nephew.
I thought maybe you were telling us.
Yep, I'm down here in Florida. Had a
pick up my baby.
Time I was down here. It was the reason I had to come back. No, it's my nephew. He's running around having a good time.
All right.
But yeah, Florida's been awesome. I was in no state for a podcast yesterday, though. Let's just put it that way. Would have been a Dave after dark, and then you find Brent. So good thing that we're doing it here on a Tuesday day. Good thing because there's still plenty of things happen all over the place. I mean, every time you look down at the phone, it looks like there's a new Big 12 member or a new non-Big 12 member. And I don't know, we're going to get all into the realignment talk. But first, you guys mentioned it a little bit on the last nightcap that you did on Friday night. And it was Squat Fest, man. And I tell you what, that was It was no short of what my expectations were. I actually blew them away.
This was your first one?
Yeah, first time being in there. I tell you what, man, just kind of the excitement and the edge that Brady and his squad really puts on. It just makes that performance like 0 to 100. You guys mentioned a few names that kind of caught your eye on the nightcap. I want you to just reiterate those here on the BBP. And I mean, Aaron's going to start with you. I think I know two speedy guys that really caught your eyes. But who along those lines now that it's a couple days removed?
Whoa. They've already heard who caught our eye.
Okay.
We want to know who caught your eye. You were the first timer. We need your account.
Okay.
Spotfest.
Well, Brady Collins caught my eye. I tell you what. You mentioned it a little bit on the nightcap. His little post game or post workout,
pre and post game speeches.
Of course he did.
I mean, that was a like the one line that he said. We can't repeat it, but man, it was just bang, bang, bang. It was perfect. But man, who really caught my eye? I mean, obviously you've mentioned Trey Tucker and Tyler Scott. I mean, those two. You just look at them and they are just like rocks and
machines,
very fast rocks. It's going to be crazy to see what kind of different ways that Gino uses them both next season. But I kind of going along the lines of like other main ones that caught my eye. I like the group that was working out together with it was Josh Wiley, Jake Renfro, and Ryan Montgomery were all together, and they were pushing a lot of weight. To see Ryan Montgomery in there pushing the weight that Wiley was on top of what Jake Renfro was. You've got a running back, a tight end, and your center who all aspire to be.
The groups are always fascinating to me.
Oh yeah,
because it's not linebackers and offensive linemen and they're not segregated into positions. You get some weird mixes of like who's with who.
Yeah, you absolutely do. And all you guys mentioned a little bit. Corey Kiner was actually with Landon Fickle and forget who the third one was. It was like two offensive linemen that he was working out with, and I kind of like turned to Justin Williams. And I was like, kind of strange with Kiner with them, and he's like yeah, I mean, they try and get him like weight wise and what kind of weight that they're pushing, and so obviously that means Corey Kiner's pushing some lineman level weight right now, and he looks good, looks the part. As far as people that really caught my eye, man, that Ivan Pace was really, really fun to see at the end because he kind of, you guys mentioned it in the nightcap, he kind of was just staring straight, dead-eyed for a while. Kind of looked like he was just like bobbing his head a little bit, like Darian Beavers was trying to bust his chops a little bit. He was just like bobbing his head, nothing. And then his brother Deshaun comes over and gets in there. He's spotting him, and he just goes up and just maxes out, and the whole team goes ballistic. And Ivan just walks away the same mild-mannered as he did when he walked up there to the bar. So I mean, it's something to see that this guy is, maybe he's going to translate that onto the field as someone who's quiet, well-mannered, and then goes out there and fights for his team when he wants to. And I mean, if with that strength, those legs, Aaron, you mentioned you love legs, I guess is the thing now. And
when they're wearing shorts to mid thigh, how do you not notice the legs, especially during squats? Like, come on, man, everybody, get out of here.
Yeah, but you make it awkward.
That's fine.
It's not that we didn't notice. I mean, I said he's got some of the biggest thighs I've ever seen.
Yeah.
The only football person I remember seeing with thighs that big were Ryan Matthews from Fresno State.
Okay. Yep.
And that was one, like, you saw him on the field getting ready for that game, and you're like, how do you tackle him?
Right.
Like, how can you get your arm around one thigh to bring that guy down? That's the only other guy I've seen with
Saquon.
But I didn't see Saquon live. Okay. Like, I'm talking about that I've like actually laid eyes on and went, that's abnormal. That's not human.
Right. No. And you guys mentioned it as well. I feel like kind of just regurgitating, but still, it looks like Nick Martiner's ready to have a NFL caliber look at me season.
I'm so excited about that wide receiver room. Chris Scott looks great. Nick Martiner looks great.
I mean,
we mentioned Trey and Tyler.
Drew Donnelly. Yeah.
Jaden Thompson hasn't added 15, 20 pounds.
How crazy is the difference though between Cincinnati and a team like Hawaii, that a kid comes here and immediately puts on 25 pounds in months, like mere months?
It goes to show how good Brady and his staff are.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Brady, he's carrying the weight too. You forgot to do a Danco read real quick.
Yeah. Danco transmissions, baby. Danco.
We're letting everybody get in here first.
Danco.
They're in. Hi, everybody.
Danco transmissions. Thank you so much for sponsoring the BVP and the BCJ. Just go to Danco. Go see Danco Joe. Tell him Chad sent you. Tell him Aaron wanted to come in, show off your legs a little bit. Get $10 off the next oil change there at Danco. Danco transmission. Big shouts to Danco. And you mentioned it though, like Marner looks good with the added weight. He looks like you mentioned a basketball player, and he's got that look of like a budding, just long, strong player. JQ Hardaway. Yeah, I mean JQ looked good. The thing about JQ is that a lot of times you look and you can kind of spot where the freshmen are and whatnot, but he's out there just mixing it up with all the upperclassmen. Him was like Sammy Anderson, JQ. Jaquan Shepard and Arquan was around them a lot. It looks like JQ is the one really ready to burst onto the scene. And I mean, when you're mixing in with the upperclassmen this quickly, that's signs of a special player. Him along with the lines of a couple other players that you guys mentioned. Quincy Burrows is another one that pops off the page, but I mean, Sincere Lewis and Armarion Smith are two other names that you look at them and they look like they're ready to go out and just hit somebody big time, especially Armarion. He kind of walks around with a bit of an edge to him, it feels like, which is what you need.
You ever watch him hit somebody?
Yeah, right. I'm excited to see it. And Aaron, after a couple of days though, did any more names pop into your mind? Or
well, here's just something that I thought about even more. I know we talked about it, you and I, while we were there. But does it surprise you at all to see like the guys who were here as early enrollees, how well they are mixing it up and kind of, as a part of the team? But I feel like you could almost see a stark difference, especially in the tug of war game,
right,
when you had some of the new guys that are here to campus in the last several weeks, as opposed to having been here since spring.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Gilliston and Doggett are two guys that are just, looks like they've been around for a very long time. I mean, you can definitely feel the comfortableness, kind of just being able to, it seems like everyone also loves Kalen Carey as well. You kind of break down all these different players that you mentioned, like the incoming freshmen and now like the redshirt freshmen / true sophomores. It does look like all of them are just taking that next step. I mean, Miles Montgomery is a name that everyone talks around a lot, and I was able to get some eyes on him a lot, and he looks big. Looks like he's ready to make an impact out on the field as well. I mean, it's just you look at all of the players, and there's not one that you kind of say like looks like he could use a little bit of working or added things there. What you got?
Because Chad got a haircut. He was just asking who that was over there.
Well, it's not the haircut. He's never seen my hair because I've always got a hat on because I don't feel like fixing my hair for the podcast. But I'm getting ready to go tomorrow to South Carolina. I got to go to Augusta, Georgia in a couple weeks for AAU. And then I've got camp coming up. The hair had to go.
A lot of heat. A lot of heat. Go. You got.
So now that the hair's gone, I don't need the hat to cover it up.
There we go.
So I just wanted Joffrey to make the connection that was still me. It's still me.
But you've got the hat handy right there, ready.
Oh, it's the hat's always. Boom. I need the hat. The hat's ready to go. Or boom.
Oh, bang bang! I love it. Quick.
You can get yours, or you can get your Bearcat Journal gear
over at
513shirts.com. Drop down partners. Go to Bearcat Journal. You can get your hat, your shirts, your hoodies, koozies. You can get all kinds of stuff.
Lock and load.
Polos, quarter zips.
Yeah, the new polos and quarter zips. Those look nice.
I know. They're sharp.
They are sharp. I'm
probably not going to take the quarter zip this week
A little hot.
Because I might die if I try to wear that. But I'll have the red polo ready to go.
I mean, they'll have AC in the gym. They'll be all right.
Oh, that's the worst part, Brent. Is that the gyms are usually like 40 degrees.
Yeah.
And then you
Yeah,
walk
you step
outside
outside
and it's 110.
Hits you in the face. I believe it. No, I've experienced not quite that muggy South Carolina, heat or Georgia heat, but
Did
definitely
I ever tell you guys
the
the
gym.
story, the Peach Jam story on my car?
No.
So one of the first times we went to Peach Jam, it was, and I hadn't learned the trick yet, which will make sense at the end. But we were in the gym. We got there about 9 o'clock in the morning. It was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It was time to go get something to eat. So we go back out to the car, and it was 103 before the humidity that day.
Right.
So it was gross. So we get in the car, and you're going to turn the air on, but first you need to let that hot air that is just like built up in your car out.
Right. Yep.
So I went to roll down the passenger side window, and the rubber that like seals the window had melted to the window. That's how fucking hot it was.
That's that heat.
So we had to wait until that night to get the window to go down because the plastic had melted. And when we finally got it to go down, you could see the black from where the plastic had just melted to the window. It was gross. That's how hot it is in the South when we go to these events. But yeah, it's like 45. Like if you look at Peach Jam pictures, Roy Williams used to bring a blanket from his hotel to watch games at Peach Jam. And he'd sit there with a blanket wrapped around him. Everybody's got hoodies and long sleeves.
Right.
And and pants. But outside, it's 112.
Normally you got
everybody gets sick after AAU season.
Put your jacket on to go outside. No, here you got to take the jacket off.
Yeah. Take the jacket off. You bring the hoodie in your backpack so you can put it on while you're watching games.
Sheesh. Absurd.
I'll pass on that. It's been mighty hot here in Florida. I'll say that much. So I don't envy you in the in and out type things you got to do with the car. But kind of wrapping up more with the whole Squat Fest event. One thing I also really love to see, and I'm sure this is something that is kind of consistent with all the Squat Fests, is that you see the names get called out for the tug of war, and a teammate is instantly there right away to jump and grab on to the player who's called and kind of be his like buddy and
anchor,
getting getting it played off. And then all of a sudden, whenever you do see a player get ready to do a PR or something along those lines, a max out, a bunch of players run quickly to them, and they're right there cheering them on. One of the main ones I saw was when like Jaheim Thomas got called up for the tug of war. Mild-mannered Ivan Pace just sprinted over and pushed everyone out of the way and like latched on to Jaheim. The same thing happened on the squats. I think it was Evan Prater was doing squats, and Ben Bryant sprinted over from his spot and he was cheering him on hard. Jaden Thompson was up there. Evan Prater sprinted over, was cheering on Jaden hard. It's just, like I said, I'm sure it's consistent a lot of places, but seeing it firsthand, you really feel how connected the team is and how much they really are pushing each other off.
I don't know that it is consistent in a lot of places.
Oh no, I meant like from year to year with the Squat Fest.
I just meant like it. I don't think it's normal at other schools. Like we talked about that a couple weeks ago. How different it is that there's not cliques. Like and sure there are small cliques, but I'm talking about in general. Like there's not a divide between offense and defense. There's not a divide between linemen and skill players. Everybody gets along and everybody kind of does it together.
I agree. And so the thing is with I did hear from a source about the whole catapult high mile per hour runs is that what that targets is, so Tyler Scott could win, 12 out of the 15 races, or Trey Tucker could win, 13 out of the 15 races that they do, but Drew Donnelly might have the top speed. And that's just because it tracks when you hit like 22 miles per hour. It just tracks that one.
Tracks your top speed.
Yeah, it just tracks that one time you hit it. So he could hit the top speed and still lose the race. So I mean, when you see those top speeds, that is just kind of the max out speed. And I mean, but they're still pushing and winning races. I mean, it's just another tool used by Brady and the staff to just further iron sharpens iron, getting a competition out of everything. And shoot, they were highly competitive on Friday morning, and it was exciting. And then when that defense came out, they had a little bit of different energy to them. And Aaron made a pretty good point. He was like, well, I mean, it is 2 hours later than when the offense had to come out there. But, defense came out there, had some wild men. Van Fossen and Dangle are two crazy guys who are going to be linebackers and really patrol that middle level. It's all impressive walking out of it, especially what the staff is able to do. A couple times I was giving Brady like smacks on the back, and man, that guy was like sweating through 3 sweatshirts, and I would slap him on the back.
Because he had 3 sweatshirts on.
I know my hand would stick. I'd be like, ay. Gotta give him a
You
hug
weren't
later.
upset. Get out of here.
Gotta give this man a hug later.
Still hasn't washed his hand.
I haven't. Still smells good too.
Did you get a look at Noah Potter?
Oh yeah. I turned to Aaron. I was like, that's Noah Potter right there, and he just a whole head taller than pretty much everyone.
That looks like a dude that can help. If he plays anything like he looks, we're going to be talking about Noah Potter quite a bit 1 month from now when things start at higher ground.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Maybe not the speed demon that Myjai Sanders was on the edge, but just sheer size and length and like power. That's going to end up like it happened so late that I think it kind of, and it happened right around like Kiner was happening right in that same kind of window that I think it got shuffled under the rug a little bit.
Yeah.
I get a feeling by like October, we're going to be like, damn, Noah Potter was a big add to this squad.
Kind of like a Jawan Briggs feel to it, but even so, Jawan kind of had that.
Short and like a tank.
Oh no, I meant like just like kind of like as the season wears on, you're like, wow, this guy is a pivotal piece to the team. I mean, one more name we have to mention is Big Dante Corleone, man. I mean, obviously, the guy's a bowling ball, so squatting might be a little bit, I don't know, easier for him. It might be a lift he likes, but man, he was pushing some hefty weight, man, and
probably could have done more. Like he didn't look like he was maxed out.
No, and he looks good, man. He looks like he's trimmed and he's kind of has that good feel to it. And I mean, I think Dante is going to be a name because Dante, and then what was the other defensive lineman that was getting mentioned? Your boy Chad,
Don Perry.
Yeah, Don Perry was. Those two guys would constantly get mentioned by the strength staff about how they're making leaps and bounds. They're going to be some bad dudes in the middle. But one question I thought was interesting.
Real quick though, Brandon, you're going to have to talk with Brent and his work schedule. I like we get more run on the afternoon shows than we do the nighttime shows.
Yeah, we haven't seen numbers like this even on the night shows.
I got lucky with I'm still in Florida, got my flight tonight.
Yeah, but I mean, you might need to look into maybe I'll work a little late, but take a little break in the afternoon to rip out a BBP.
Right. I mean, if the BBP was an hour, I could maybe do like a lunch break. But man, when we get rolling on some of those long ones, I think some people in the office might be like, where did Brent go? Where did Brent go?
Why is Dave saying emergency pod soon? What's happening, Dave? Don't do that to me.
Is it the 6 teams added?
Is that Dave's wife in his picture?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I know when that was put up there, I was like, what? Wait a minute. Who is this?
Dave, you changed.
Yeah, Dave. But so one question that Aaron and I were mentioning is just how, first off, Deshaun Pace looks like he carries himself like an NFL player. You look around, you saw Darian Beavers walking around and Sauce walking around and Jerome and Michael Young walking around. But then you see Deshaun and just the way he carries himself. He's got that next level feel to it. But I am intrigued to see as this season wears on and next season and when he does, head to the NFL, whenever it will be, what his goal would be as far as, am I adding weight and being here, or am I trying to become, one of these kind of cover slot players that the NFL has been using more and more often. It is just intriguing to see where he projects at the next level, because he was walking around on Friday and he's got a different air to him, and one that you can just tell he's gonna have a monster season, and then of course start to get more and more NFL talk. I mean, I'm just intrigued. I don't know what you think, Chad, as far as what his prospects are, because I think he's perfect right now in his role with Cincinnati, but as things wears on.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be consideration towards that. I don't know that he's fast enough to play safety.
Right.
So I think like coverage linebacker is his future.
Yeah.
Like even as a box safety in the NFL, man, if you get singled out that you're not going to be able to handle a slot receiver isolating you, like, and going deep, like, look, I just think, like, go back and look at the Rams in the Super Bowl and the way that they isolated Eli Apple.
Right.
When Awuzie was the Bengals' best corner by far.
Yeah.
And the Rams found a way to isolate Cooper Kupp on Eli Apple, and it won them the Super Bowl. Like, and that's different. Obviously, that's two corners, but secondary is secondary. Like, they'll find a way to get their guy on your weakness. Yeah. And with Deshaun, I don't know NFL speed at safety, but as a linebacker, he can certainly cover in the box, and he can hit, and he's got great football instincts.
Yeah. That's his main thing.
Yeah, that's the thing about him, is like it's just a different looking Jarrell White, right? Like, he's going to find the ball wherever the ball is, whether it be down the seam, whether it be on the edges, whether it be in the backfield. Deshaun Pace just has a way that knows where the ball's at and how to get there and how to make a play. So
and he did it in high school, and but I think the tweener thing that he had even in high school was something that kind of, didn't propel him to a high rating as far as, stars and whatnot. But I mean, man, he's more than shown that he's ready to be everything and then some.
Everybody you talk to at Coleraine said, look, this kid's underrated. Like, I know he's getting squeezed because of the position and because of, he doesn't have the specific numbers, but you put the kid on the field, you wind him up, you put him on the field, and it doesn't matter. He makes plays. And
I talked to you when I was doing the recruiting roundup during his senior year. I would talk to you every week and be like, why? What? How is he not rated higher?
And I would say he should be.
He's just making, exactly, yeah. But he's just making interceptions and pick sixes, and then all of a sudden you got a punt return for a touchdown and a 12 tackle game. I mean, he's a big time player. Couple final things to wrap it all up. Cam Jones is a big human being.
Accurate.
It's like big and scary.
There's a section of the weight room where the ceiling is probably. It looks like where a support beam goes across. It's probably 9 foot, I would guess. And as the offense was getting ready to break for the day, they happened to be right under there. And Cam came over and put his hand up and was literally like touching the top of this. They're just doing their 1, 2, 3, Bearcat. But he was like just touching the ceiling. He wasn't on his tiptoes. He wasn't raised up. Like, he just like that was him with his hand up in the huddle. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, and I mean, he looks athletic, but now he looks big. That dude,
and he's got a great mullet.
Yeah, he does. Oh yeah, he does.
There is that
high level mullet.
He looks ready to make plays on and off the field. I'll give you that much. But as far as that, other kind of things that just stuck out was, I mean, everyone was like in there focused, working, but also having a little bit of fun in the process, which. That's what you need. It's what Brady always says is he wants that weight room to be like, their temple, but also a place where they don't dread going, a place where they like to go and get better as a team. And you just saw that throughout the entire day. And even through the end when they're doing the little, lined up in two lines, doing push-ups, sit-ups, and everything of that sort, they were kind of just having, even though it looked hard for some, it would have been impossible for me. They were definitely doing a lot of team bonding type things, and it all just translated and looks great to me.
I love that they were getting called out if they were even remotely close to cheating on any of that stuff.
Exactly. And Brady would catch him every time. And so funny when Brady called him in for the final, his talk and whatnot. And he's like, and they told him to go all lay back down because he didn't feel the enthusiasm he wanted coming into him. So go lay back down and then come back up and over here, guys. But no, it was an awesome day. So big shouts to Brady and to the staff and everyone for having us there. And you know what?
For sure.
We'll have to make it a yearly thing. How about that?
Some of us already do.
There we go. Yeah, well, we'll see. I guess we'll timestamp this right here. But it is July, so
no sponsor.
That means
if you'd like to sponsor the timestamps or the mailbag, my DMs, private messages on Bearcat Journal are always open. We'd love to consider bringing you on as a part of the BCJ network. Hit me up,
y'alls. There you go. Timestamp. Boom. Very good. Now it's go ahead and let's open the floor. It's happening again. Realignment, left and right. You guys had the emergency pod for the realignment when the UCLA and the USC to the Big Ten talk started last week, and then of course now it's good to see the Big 12 being aggressive. That would be my favorite thing to take out of the last few days, and I guess last few hours. But I mean, we're seeing anywhere from 2, 4, 6 teams that the Big 12 is looking to add from the Pac-12 or the Pac. I mean, whatever they are now. What are they down to 8? I don't know what they are.
They're at 10 for the moment.
Yeah, 10 for the moment. I mean, pretty much every national pundit is saying that. Yo, very good. Pretty much every national pundit.
It's a little more expensive than that.
Depends on if he plans on doing $5 every time or not.
Right. Nick, hit me up. The rates are reasonable, and it depends on if you want to timestamp the BBP and the BCJ podcast, if you just want to do one or the other. But it's reasonable. Send me a DM. We'll work it out.
Hop on in.
I know where you're coming from, and I think that would be a good investment financially. So let me know.
There we go. Lock and load.
Doing business during the show.
Yeah, we like that. That's how we push it through. But Dennis Dodd is the most recent one, saying that up to 6 teams from the Pac-12 coming to the Big 12, possibly. I mean, guys, this is something that we've talked about for years, and Cincinnati finally gets in the Big 12, and then, of course, all hell breaks loose, and here we are yet again talking about realignment. But this time, Cincinnati is safely secure. In are we calling it Power 4 conference now, or I don't know.
Nothing's safely secure.
I was going to say I don't feel safe using the word safely secure.
Right.
Ever.
More safe than sitting in the American Athletic Conference.
They're on a more solid footing now.
Right.
Yes,
right.
For sure.
But I mean, from all the news that's coming out from every angle right now, I mean, where are you guys looking at things going? Are you feeling that the Big 12 is going to do what the reports are saying now and add up to 6 teams almost immediately? Try and get that worked out. Are you seeing different angles? Do you think there is a different angle? I mean, kind of just what are you guys wrapping your head around, or I guess what's your wish list as far as this topic goes?
I don't believe anything. Essentially, in college football, I don't believe anything until Pete Thamel reports it.
Right.
That's just my standard operating procedure.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of good media folks out there that I think do a good job. I'm not sure I would count Dennis Dodd as one of them, even though he's in our network. His hit rate is not stellar. Pete Thamel doesn't. Pete Thamel has a very similar philosophy to Bearcat Journal. He doesn't really dabble in rumors and speculation.
Right.
Like if he reports something, it's happening. So that's why I'm still skeptical of this whole like the Big 12 is meeting with teams from the Pac-12 today. I haven't seen Pete report it. It came from the publisher of the Arizona site. I'm sure it's sourced. I'm sure they have the same media like requirements that all of us do, you would think.
Mm-hmm.
But that tweet from Matt Brown, can you find the tweet from Matt Brown, Aaron,
Yep.
that I quote tweeted earlier today?
I got you.
The people that are making these decisions aren't talking. Like the point of Matt Brown's post was, are the people you're listening to connected to the people that are involved in these situations? And my point would be, even if they are, guess what? President Pinto is not answering my call right now to discuss what's going on with the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just not how this works. Like, yeah, maybe you've got, you've got a connection on the football staff or, the head basketball coach, but those people don't know. Like, they're not involved in this until the very end. I guarantee you, Darren Savino didn't know this was going down when I was hanging out with him at UCLA 10 days ago or whatever it was.
Right.
Like he did not have an inkling. They were not calling Darren into the president's office. Like, hey, this is what's happening. Don't tell anybody. Speaking from experience, the number of people at a school who really know what's happening with realignment is pretty small and gets smaller the more money is involved. Ask yourself, how likely is the source you're reading actually connected to those people? And my addition would be, even if they are connected to those people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he goes on to
generally are not privy to these conversations. Sometimes even ADs aren't, which is the God's honest truth. Often we're talking presidents, some ADs, very senior conference staff, regents, maybe a huge donor or two, and some in the industry that know how to keep their mouth shut. It's not a big list. It's not. Like that's if you've ever wondered why I don't really dabble in that stuff, it's because I've watched it happen. I've watched people that are really good at this lose credibility and lose their market because they're going out on a limb on everything that anyone tells them, right? And they're running to the internet and they're reporting it. There's a new – go ahead, Aaron.
Well, I was just going to say, like, let's go back to when UCLA and USC were even announced going to the Big Ten. Nobody knew what was happening, right? So just because we have an idea that things are going to start shuffling right now doesn't mean that anybody's going to talk. I think the proof is in the pudding right in the USC-UCLA move, right? Like,
correct. Absolutely. Like Texas, Oklahoma blew everybody away. Justin told me, like, Nicole Auerbach, who's like the big reporter at The Athletic on college football things.
Yep.
She was getting wind that something was off the morning that announcement happened, because all of a sudden, and how do you usually get wind? Everybody stops taking your calls.
Right.
Nobody will answer your texts anymore because they're not going to be the one that was responsible for the news leaking. Like, the only reason we found out about Texas and Oklahoma was because Texas A&M got wind of it and tried to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the only reason we found out about Texas and Oklahoma before it would have come out the day that it happened.
Right.
If Texas A&M had not tried to sabotage the process to keep Texas from getting into the SEC. So the new thing that's happening, what I was going to get to, Aaron, is the guy at Arizona, the guy that runs the Arizona site, basically the me of Arizona 24/7, reported that the Big 12 was going to talk to Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah today. And what happens then? Everybody, pretty much everybody runs with reports say
Right. Yeah.
that this
Sources are
is going to
indicating
happen.
it.
So nobody would touch it with their own words.
Yeah.
But they want the clicks because this is a clicks game. Now clicks get money.
Right.
And that's how we're all driven. I'm an idiot because I don't do this. I know I'm an idiot for not doing it, but I'm not attaching my name to something if I don't have it sourced, if I don't have it locked down, I'm 100% confident that this is happening. I'm not even going to put my name on reports say.
Yeah.
Because when you start doing that, the Big Ten ADs didn't know about it until the news broke Thursday, some of them. Nobody in the Pac-12 had any idea this was going down. Like, we know one of the few people that knew this was all happening. And that's why he wouldn't have lunch with me 2 weeks ago. Because he didn't want Mike Bone going, hey, buddy, guess what? It's a shame you're not here next week. We would be in the Big Ten. And then he'd have to, walk it back. I'm kidding. But, kind of. But, that's the reality of this, man. Now, it gets a little different when the first domino drops, right? So the domino dropping, obviously, this time around, UCLA and USC. And then everybody starts to scramble. But still, man, presidents aren't calling media people. Presidents and chancellors aren't calling media people and being like, hey, we're talking to the Big 12 today. What do you think about that?
This all reminds me of Survivor or the Real World Road Rules Challenge or whatever on MTV, where you find out that somebody's going to get voted off, and now everybody's scrambling to try and figure out how to get that person not voted off, but get the other person voted off. It's the same.
Form an alliance,
which
we saw the alliance didn't
literally. It's reality television playing out in college sports
with a lot more money on the line.
We're down to a vote this week. Are you with me or are you against me?
This alliance though is not really working out for anyone not Big Ten.
Right. The Big Ten is the Big Ten is the guy that wins Survivor.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right? They played the other they played their two closest allies.
Tricked them all.
And those two people are going to be pissed at tribal council.
The after show is going to be where all truth comes out. There's no doubt about that. No doubt about
Aaron,
that.
Can you time out Robert for a while?
So
you got a 5-minute timeout, Robert.
Is this also kind of you want to be the first to break it type thing as well? Because if you're kind of just throwing crap at the wall and seeing if it sticks, you can eventually hit on something.
But that's been my point. I've watched a lot of people that have had a considerable market share in this industry lose their market share because they're just throwing as much stuff against the wall. And guess what? You better hope one of those things hits.
Right.
Because if not, the music stops and there's just a bunch of shit on the wall. Right? It's not shit. There's just stains from the shit falling off of the wall because nothing's stuck. It's just a dangerous, my stance is this is intended to be my profession from here on out. I'm not looking to do anything else or go anywhere else. I'm happy with this and doing this. And you don't know the angst I feel at the thought of Cincinnati getting left out again. Right? Because that fucks with my money. Ultimately. I don't like that. So I don't know.
Are we talking about if there's two monster
or if worst case scenario,
Pac-12, Big 12 merge
and the new schools that are coming get cut, because we saw that happen in the past where there's a reshuffling after the reshuffling. Mm-hmm. TCU was supposed to be in the Big East and they ended up in the Big 12. That's not to say I think that's going to happen, but for me, I'm not comfortable. Like we talked about just 5 minutes ago, I'm not comfortable predicting anything yet. I think the Big 12 has done a good job finding itself in a much stronger position than they were this time 13, 14 months ago.
Yeah.
But until decisions are made and teams are on the field playing each other in 2023 or 2024, whatever it's going to be, like, I'm not comfortable predicting any of it because I'm not privy to those conversations about what's happening behind the scenes. And I'm not going to pretend to be.
Right.
And I'm not going to take one person who's got, I don't know what their source is. I don't know, maybe they're talking to the compliance person. Well, the compliance person's not going to be in those meetings. Maybe they're talking to the recruiting coordinator. They're not going to be in those meetings. I want to make sure before I jump on anything that it's legit.
Right. And
I'm not connected enough to make that happen. And know your scouting report, right? That's just my stance on it. I know a lot of people out there disagree with the way we've handled it, but I've seen it hurt too many businesses.
I mean, I think we've got a pretty strong realignment thread though in the past that has enough on there to keep anyone happy. But I think it was confirmed though that Brett Yormark came out saying that the Big 12 is going to be aggressive and looking to
I'm sure they are.
Add or do whatever's best for them moving forward.
Well, I mean, they have to be because the SEC and the Big 10 have played their hands, right? The four biggest names, if you'd have asked who the four biggest names not in those conferences was 15 months ago, there's a pretty good chance you would have settled on Texas, Oklahoma, USC, and UCLA.
Right.
Now, maybe there's some dispute over UCLA as 4 or whatever, because football hasn't exactly been, a storied history.
Right.
But, I mean, you get the Rose Bowl. You get the number 1 college basketball program of all time.
Mm-hmm.
You get everything that goes with UCLA. Those were the top 4 free. Well, they weren't free agents at the time. They weren't even restricted free. I guess restricted free agents would have been the qualifier. But you're only a restricted free agent if the exiting institution can match. And there's no way those leagues could match what the Big Ten is offering. Right. I don't know.
I mean, it's going to be funny when, you have a Wednesday night or Thursday night game at Pauley Pavilion in UCLA, and then you got to travel all the way over to Piscataway for a Saturday noon tip-off against Rutgers.
I think they'll do everything they can to
avoid it. I agree,
that
but
doesn't happen.
The slight chance that you've done everything you can, but that has to happen could possibly be out there. Because we mentioned it in the AAC when you got to travel one place and then go a pretty far distance on a quick short time span and play the next game. So I mean that's just getting crazy.
I think it's going to be even more interesting in seeing UCLA and USC play in the snow.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
It'll be interesting because I mean, it's going to have to happen. And I mean, we mentioned, we make fun of USF coming up and UCF coming up and, having heaters on the sidelines when it's 50-degree weather on a nice fall afternoon in Cincinnati.
It's November and the high at 9 p.m. is 48 degrees. And
even in
Robert, Kathy has requested that we no longer make UCF jokes. So we don't do that here.
In the sun, it's still 70 degrees on those same days too.
It's 70 during the day and it drops down to 52 at night. I mean, I've seen USF do it. It was a beautiful 72-degree sunny day in Cincinnati. The game was at 7:00, and they had not only the heaters but the heated benches and the coats on the sidelines. No part of it.
Well, luckily we don't have to worry about the bowls anymore past this season, but that other one's still going to be hanging around. I guess if you had to take one way that you feel would be the best for the Big 12 to go, it would have to be to add those 6 teams, right? That have been floating around and just continue to try and, compete against what the SEC and the Big Ten have created now, just these monster conferences. Because, like you guys have mentioned, the merger or the other option would be probably not what Cincinnati would want, and that would be the Pac-12 being the more aggressive one. I saw what they were moved up their date for or deadline for a new TV deal, I believe is what they're throwing out there. I don't know if that's kind of a desperation shot that they're taking, or
well, yeah, what they've done basically is they've opened negotiations. So their TV deal is done after 2023.
Right.
So they don't have a TV deal going forward. You're supposed to get a window that's a little closer to that to open your TV rights.
Right.
But they have now, what they're essentially trying to do is get a value from ESPN or Fox on what it's worth so that they can tell the 10 teams, this is what we're worth on the open market. I don't know that that's a great idea, because I don't know you're going to like the answer.
Right.
Like, especially when you're considering we're now talking $80 to $100 million valuations for each team in the SEC and the Big Ten. And that's what started this to begin with, excuse me, was USC and UCLA going, we're going to get 40, maybe 50 if everything breaks exactly right, and they're going to be at 100.
Right.
We're playing a different sport at that point in time.
Yeah.
So that's what started this. So I don't know, is that really what you're going to get to entice Big 12 teams to leave? Mm-hmm. Is a bad valuation from TV, because it's just not, like we've already learned, it's not all that valuable having the West Coast games. They don't draw eyeballs, and you just lost LA.
Yeah.
I mean, Rage Against the Machine, battle for Los Angeles, Ohio won. Ohio now owns Los Angeles.
Right.
In the college sports world.
Cincinnati already did.
UC.
There you go. Well, and Chicago owns it now too. It's just that is just insane to me. The rivalries are done that the Pac-12 ever had, and now we are here at this new thing. I don't even know what to call it.
It's the race for number 3, Brent. That's all it is at this point. It's literally just the race for number 3. And we already kind of hinted to it, but we all are buckled in, hoping, praying that Cincinnati somehow ends up in that conference that positions itself to be the new number 3.
Yeah, and so what everybody knows is there's going to be 2. And there is room in college sports for 3 and potentially 4.
Right.
Like I've always agreed with the fact that it's probably going to go to a 4 conference, like a 4 dominant conference model.
Right.
That leaves everybody else so far monetarily behind that, again, they're playing chess and everybody else is playing checkers, for lack of a better analogy. Because the way college sports is set up, I know there's been all this talk about an NFL model and 40 or 50 teams between those 2 conferences. I think the public would reject it. I really do. I don't think
I agree.
This is not the NFL. This is not the NFL. There's a part of Cincinnati, the Bengals have fans all over the region. It spreads down into Lexington, into Louisville, Columbus, over into Indiana a little bit, but the Colts, also share that market. The Browns and the Bengals markets overlap. West Virginia, there's a ton of people that are fans of Cincinnati sports. That doesn't work in college. West Virginia fans aren't going to decide to root for Ohio State because West Virginia got left out.
No shot.
Right? So I don't think the pro model works. For a lot of reasons, I don't think the American Athletic Conference worked. Yeah. Remember how we talked about the problem the AAC had in recruiting was when you grow up in the Midwest, you want to play in the Big Ten.
Right.
When you grow up in the South, you want to play in the SEC. When you grow up on the East Coast, you want to play in the ACC. When you grow up in LA, you want to play in the Pac-12. Nobody grew up wanting to play in the American because when these kids were born, the fucking conference didn't exist.
Right.
You know, and you're losing these rivalries, and it's just going to make people care less.
It's
right?
just watering down the sport, yeah.
And you're forcing people to be something that they're not. In order to get the type of market share to make this matter, you're not going to have that. Like, you're just not. Like, you're going to have, you know, an entire West Coast. If the Pac-12 blows up, you're going to have an entire West Coast that's just going to say, you know what, screw college football.
Right.
And it's just not going to be part of their lexicon anymore. And a sport is going to be able to survive with basically nothing east of the or west of the Mississippi besides UCLA and USC and what, Nebraska? Like, that's not how it's going to work. I just don't see that as being feasible. So there's going to be room for at least two more.
Mm-hmm.
The Big 12 has a chance to position itself as one of those two.
I was going to say, somebody brings up, and I've been waiting for you to kind of finish your thought, but maybe this is where we see something finally happen over here in the States that represents the Premier League, where you have some type of relegation.
I'd love it, but it's never going to happen.
No, because people are greedy and want their money. The end.
Yeah, I would love if we talked about this on the live show Friday. If there was some form of like, okay, the Big 10 partners with the Big 12 and the SEC partners with the ACC, and the bottom three teams in each of those two leagues, you're out, and the top three teams in each of those, the other two leagues, you're up. And like Dave said, they have to meet on the highway in between and drop the bags of money. Okay, well, we had the money last year. Here's the extra $50 million this year that you guys get.
Because at the end of the day, nobody wants to see your Vanderbilts and your Rutgers and your Marylands, and like, except for maybe the the diehards of those teams. But how many do you really have? Like, that was kind of the argument when Rutgers and Maryland joined the Big Ten. Like, I don't know. I think at some point you're still going to have the haves and the have-nots, just on a different level. And if you go with two super conferences, nobody's going to want to play you from the other conferences unless the stacks are crazy, simply because what are you playing for? Because they're not going to allow you to go into their playoff for a piece of the national championship at that point. You're going to be playing for your own national championship, and it's going to be never looked at the same as what the SEC versus the Big Ten championship is. It's all going to be bullshit.
This is the fascinating part, Robert. Is there going to be relegation of, or not relegation necessarily, but a booting out of the bad teams in those leagues, Vandy, Purdue, Rutgers, etc.
At some point, I would think.
Well, here's where it gets interesting, because this kind of, remember what went wrong with the Big East? It was that the original schools of the Big East knew they needed football, so the basketball schools invited football in. Then you created a divide.
Yep.
And you had the basketball people over here, the football people over here, and their interests weren't aligned, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's take Texas, for example.
Right.
Texas has been a problem forever, whatever conference they were in, because Texas wanted to be the boss, right? Yeah. So let's say Texas is in the SEC for 5 years, right? Now they're comfortable. They got their feet up on the coffee table, got their hand down their pants, Al Bundy style, watching some TV. At what point does Texas go, you know what? Why is Vandy getting some of my money?
Gonna happen.
Yeah,
right.
And that's how it's going to happen. Like, I don't see the schools that have been together forever kicking out of Vandy.
Right.
Like, I don't see Kentucky, Tennessee, Florida.
But the newcomers could be the ones that start to
right. So then Texas gets Oklahoma in their pocket, right? And then Texas A&M goes, you know what, you're right.
And they talked
Right.
to Bama, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
Bama's like,
Back
"You
to
know
the
what?"
Survivor analogy where you have the merging of the camps.
Right.
And all of a
And
sudden,
then-
the people who were partied up are no longer allied, and you got just shit hitting everything. Like it's gonna be madness. It's gonna be pure madness.
That's Aaron. You're a fucking genius because I
saying.
haven't seen it. You need to write this article. I haven't seen it mentioned in these terms yet. But all we are watching
It's Survivor.
is college football Survivor.
Reality show.
Well, but
popular.
not just any reality show. It is specifically
It is Survivor.
For the record, I have not seen anyone say. I'm not stealing this from anyone. I
Hey.
have not seen this anywhere on Twitter or social
Stamp
media
it.
of any
Stamp
sport. Just
So
saying.
you got to find the hidden immunity idols so that you're safe.
Right.
Like right now, Vandy's got the idol. But, somebody might make them play that at tribal council, and then they're not going to have the idol. Then they're going to be exposed. I'm not shedding a tear for anybody. Because everybody's acting in their own best interest.
You have
right?
to.
Right. How do Boise and Memphis advance now? Would you go join if there's anything left of the Pac-12?
Or the ACC or whatever's left, whatever the fourth best, you have to put all your eggs in that basket.
Yeah.
Try your hardest, yeah.
But
if not, like SMU, like it's hard.
It's
hard.
At some point, well, I mean, a couple of things. First off, Pac-12 really shot themselves in the foot with the whole, college football playoff expansion and how they, didn't put their hat in for the 12 team, but having one member from what was it, the top 6, conferences.
Yeah, the auto bid.
Yeah.
I still can't believe these conferences rejected the auto bid when the auto bid was the only thing that was going to guarantee your safety because it allowed you access to the championship.
Right.
The short-sighted ignorance of all these are supposed to be smart people.
That's what happens when you're arrogant, though, Chad. They've never been told no. They've never been like in a position to where they're the ones getting shit on. And now all of a sudden, fast forward, when Texas and Oklahoma leave, when UCLA and USC leave, now you're in a position where, that arrogance just slapped you in the,
Right. That arrogance slit your throat.
Yeah.
They wanted to be the only Power 5. Now they're going to even be a Power 5. It's like
right. And all they had to do was agree to the 12-team playoff. That's it. All they had to do is say we're in.
And who knows?
None of this happens.
Maybe then UCLA.
Because USC and UCLA in that scenario have an easier path to a championship.
Correct.
Because if you're USC, you're looking around and going, I got to beat Oregon. And if I beat Oregon,
and that's
I'm going to be playing in the playoff.
And then the conversation with the TV deals is a lot easier as well.
You know what the commissioner or the people that run the conference said instead? Well, it's not fair because the SEC will get 4 teams every year and we want 2. Now you're going to get 0 and you might not even have a conference, dumbass.
Yeah.
Well, you could still make that argument for USC and UCLA in the new. They're going to have money, but it doesn't mean that they're going to have a good shot.
Oh, no, if there's a 12-team playoff, make no mistake. It's going to be 4 SEC and 4 Big Ten teams of the 12.
It'd be 6 and 6. They're not going to let anybody else in.
Well, they have. That's the other thing that everybody talks about, and we'll hit on it just for a second because I don't. In the grand scheme of UC, it doesn't matter much yet. Mm-hmm. But there's this talk of the SEC and the Big Ten breaking away and staging their own championship.
Right.
Let me ask you this. When have the SEC and the Big Ten agreed on fucking anything? They are literally in a game of I'm better than you. Literally in the middle of a game of my dick is bigger than yours.
Right.
You think they're all of a sudden just going to be like, okay, ceasefire. Now we're friends. Like I said, on Friday, there's no superpowers. Randy Macho Man Savage, Hulk Hogan handshake coming here from these 2 conferences. If anything, you know what they're going to do, Brett?
Yeah.
The SEC is going to have a 4-team playoff.
Right.
And declare the SEC champion.
That way,
the Big Ten's going to have a 4-team playoff and declare the Big Ten champion.
Yeah.
And they're going to say we're the national champion.
You know what? I do think though. I do think if it does become 4 super conferences, then I do think the NCAA would start to be a little worried. As far as, with those 4 big conferences peeling off and having it be their own type thing.
But why? It already
Because
is.
money.
It already is.
Right. No, I know.
The NCAA has no control.
Why
would you break away from the NCAA?
All they have is what? The NCAA tournaments. The one thing that the NCAA kind of has.
Basketball doesn't matter.
No, I know, but I'm just saying in their corner
that's
right
it.
now, that's all they have.
The NCAA makes $0 off of football.
Right. No, I agree. I just have a buddy that works in the NCAA, and he's saying like it's a little nerve-wracking right now with all this going on and all these powers throwing themselves this way and that way, and things are getting a little, they're getting a little leery, and they're concerned where the future is heading. Maybe
they break away. Maybe I'm dead wrong on this long term, because they've done so much stupid shit that anything is possible.
Right.
But the NCAA already takes the fall for everything bad that happens in college sports.
Yeah.
Even though they have no say in college football. None.
True.
None.
Yeah, because college football playoff is its own thing.
Its own separate entity, because they would never allow the NCAA to get their hands on that money.
Right.
Never.
Right.
You've already got the fall guy.
True.
The NCAA is run by the presidents of the universities. Yeah. They set the policy. They control everything.
Yeah.
So why would you give up that cover?
That's true.
For no reason.
No, I agree with that. And the answer would be money. That seems like it's the answer all the time for these questions. But I mean, if someone threw crazy amounts of money in a TV deal to say, hey, listen, peel away, even in basketball, we want to start our own, not NCAA tournament, but Big Four basketball tournament on top of things, and then get the rights for that, and then all of a sudden.
Yeah, maybe, but you still the problem there is, Brent, and I'll get to your hot take in a second, Zach. Thank you again for the donation. You're awesome, Tom. Thank you. If they break away, you know what they still need? They still need a governing body, because you have 4 different entities. You have 4 different conferences that don't agree on anything. They're from different regions. They're run by people of all different ideologies.
Yeah.
They're never going to agree on anything. So guess what they will need? They will need a governing body.
Right.
So then they will break away from the NCAA and form their new version of the NCAA. That seems like a lot of work to get to the same goal. The NCAA has already granted these conferences autonomy, which means you are allowed to do whatever the fuck you want, and we're not going to do anything about it.
Right.
It'd also be interesting for the non-football basketball sports. What happens to them? Are they still part of the NCAA? Do they have? I mean,
they don't make money, so they're gone.
I mean, if that's where we're headed, that's where we're headed, right? If we're really leading to the NCAA, the 4 conferences or 2 conferences breaking away from the NCAA, it is going to be the end of Olympic sports as we know it, because they don't want to fund them to begin with.
Yeah, and I personally don't want them. My favorite thing about college sports is the fact that it is actually college sports. I don't want it to be the NFL Junior League or the NBA Developmental League with 160 teams now. You know what I mean? It
already is.
Right, I know it is, but I'm just saying. But you still get some sort of semblance where you can turn on and watch, college baseball, college World Series and different things of that. I still like the pageantry behind that. Yeah. Ooh, easy.
Hot take. If this Pac-12 implosion happened last year, there's no way UC makes it to the Big 12, and we're asking if they can be in the 4th best league. True.
I don't think that's a hot take. I think that's factual.
I think that's
because if USC and UCLA and Oklahoma and Texas all left at the same time, there would have been a very simple Pac-12 Big 12 merger.
The end.
Yeah.
And
then you wait to see what happens with the ACC, and you hope you get a life raft from the ACC after the ACC gets rated, whenever that may be.
2030.
So that's not a hot take. That's just, yeah. Things happened so far, about as perfectly as they could have played out for Cincinnati.
But in true Cincinnati fashion, we're all worried about when the sky is going to fall.
Right.
True. Well, because good things can't happen for us. Something has to happen.
Nice.
The second that something good happens, something equally as bad, usually worse, is going to happen as well. So,
Yeah, it's been since 1990 since the city has celebrated a championship of any sort.
Gosh, we were so close randomly. This was a fun last football season, but man, yeah, I mean, it's still. I'm not going to let it take a sour taste to the fact that we are heading to the Big 12 for me. That's just my personal stance, and I'm liking the way that your Mark's coming out and he's being aggressive, and it's a different feel to it where he's, it seems more of like a big business mentality that he's taking.
How scary is this if Bowlesby's the one in charge right now, right? I'd be terrified.
I'm still hanging my hat on the fact that when July 1st, 2023 rolls around, Cincinnati will be in the Big 12, and whatever chips fall leading to that, hopefully they're all falling our way, Cincinnati's way. So, anything else on this realignment? I'm sure it'll be a topic for the next few weeks. But obviously,
Aaron, Dave wanted me to let you know that his wife walked by, looked, and said, "Is Aaron in a locker room?"
I mean,
yeah.
What of it?
Nothing. It was just her. Just like she just walked by as he was watching the show.
Yeah.
It's like, is Aaron in a locker room?
No, it was just kind of cool that they had this here when I started podcasting down here, and then why would I move something that looks like that in my background? It's fantastic.
Cool. It's cool. I mean, what's in the lockers? Cool stuff?
Toys and coloring books and silly stuff for the kids.
Oh. I don't think I'm going to get the locker, by the way.
Yeah, I didn't think that you had any shot at that.
I thought I had a shot, and then I found out it wasn't the person making the call that I thought was.
Oh yeah. By the way, how was that, guys? Are we allowed to discuss on here? Or?
Let's timestamp first.
Yeah.
Before we move on to any more conversation.
Timestamp. Just have this one.
If you would like to sponsor, you'd like to be a member of the BCJ team, you can sponsor the timestamp. Hit me up on Twitter. Hit me up private messages on Bearcat Journal if you're interested. It's just all inquiries accepted at this point.
Insanity timestamp. There you go. Conference chaos.
I like alliteration.
The Survivor edition. Conference chaos. But yeah, you guys, are we allowed to discuss what you did after Squat Fest? I had to run.
We can't get into great detail.
Okay.
But we did get a sneak peek at the new Bearcats locker room, and it's going to be
nothing short of incredible.
Yeah, very impressive.
Big hat tip to
no. Yeah.
Well, oh yeah, I know. So pretty much that conference realignment is crazy. Survivor edition. And then outside of that, yeah, that's good. Let's talk a little football. Basketball, and then we'll touch on recruiting, and then close this up with the mailbag.
Not a ton of mailbag questions, although
right.
Doing these, we get a lot in the chat, so that's kind of
we'll see.
Acted as an afternoon de facto mailbag.
There you go. Basketball. I'd say some of the top things from this past weekend obviously would be kind of Rayvon Griffith blowing up. I don't know if that's kind of the main thing that you guys are able to draw away.
With Bronny.
With Bronny.
With Bronny. So that's the thing is those two were teammates. Tonk Stamp. Are you going to donate $5 in Tonk Stamp every timestamp until we get a sponsor, Kyle? I'm here for it. Yeah. I'm totally here for it.
Whatever's clever, man.
Landers Nolly is eligible. Yeah, Landers Nolly has been eligible.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I don't know if you saw that Abdul Adom might have another year of eligibility. Something that I did not know.
What a weird interaction that all was.
But yeah, Rayvon suited up with what they're the Blue Chips, right? I think is what their name.
I don't know. Yeah, it was some like international thing, right?
Well, they're the old. It's their old
Yeah.
grade school AAU team that they had back in the day, where Cups and Rayvon and Bronny and LeBron was in attendance and kind of watch it. And it was the fact that Rayvon was the one that was kind of blowing up and throwing down some monster dunks. He had another one that was close to being another monster dunk that he tried to yam over someone, I believe, and went off the back iron. But still, he's morphing into what looks like a quintessential stud at the next level. And he was with on what the visit was last Friday, I believe. He was in town with McKinley, right? And
Tyler McKinley.
And if that continues down that path and Rayvon's continue to blow up the way that he is and just obviously be the high level player that he is, and it can't hurt that McKinley is the one that also sees Rayvon and is buddies with Rayvon.
They were in town because they live here, but they were on campus for an unofficial visit, did a little photo shoot together. Tyler McKinley is referred to Rayvon as a big brother. They work out together a lot, like they're close. So nothing but so July 1st was the cutoff for a dead period. Like you can't be recruits can't be on campuses now. Mm-hmm. So they got them in right at the wire, got the two of them on campus, kind of getting a feeling of what being teammates would feel like, putting on the red and black together. Yeah. Like that's as good as it gets from a recruiting standpoint on two guys that you really want to be part of the Cincinnati program going forward. So yeah, that was a big deal.
I mean, obviously that it doesn't hurt when then you see a couple days later, LeBron James is hyping up Rayvon as he
never a bad thing
throws down monster dunk after monster dunk. The basketball team, it looks like they did their end of the summer workout. They
it's kind of the halfway point.
Okay.
So it runs through July. June and July are summer workouts. Mm. There's generally a break, 4th of July week, where everybody gets to go home, hang out with their families for a couple of days. And that's the same for football. So football and basketball are gone this week from campus. And then football will come back and start what they call OTAs, which is just a lot of on-field with your peers, offensive line working out, defensive line working out, offensive skill working out, defensive skill working out together as they get ready and prepare to head to higher ground. And basketball will come back and jump back into their summer workouts and a little bit more team stuff. If it holds true to form the way it's been, the first half is more individual stuff. Mm-hmm. And then when they come back, it's more team oriented, getting a chance to get on the floor with a full unit more often. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what we've got coming up. Hopefully open gyms fire back up because those have kind of went away the last couple of weeks, which is unfortunate. Yep. But that's just scheduling. And one night Wes had the team over at his house. One day, as we saw in some of the videos, the team all went to Kings Island.
Took their talents to Kings Island.
Yeah, those have all been in lieu of open gym, which I have complained about to the highest authorities that I'm not allowed in summer workouts. So I need open gyms. Right. And you need to think about the BCJ members and their access.
Did it fall on deaf ears or
probably? I suggest a lot of things. It doesn't mean anybody listens to me.
Right. But it is good seeing those videos though at like Kings Island and whatnot, because especially in basketball, if you're able to build a team together with the chemistry off the court, that's only going to help the chemistry on the court as well. And it seems simple to say that, but you just see how much it looks like this team really just has fun with each other, likes each other, loves Wes. I like Wes. Wes looks like just like speak of older brother. It just feels like an older brother of theirs, just kind of their
until they're on the floor.
Right. Exactly. But
the brother that yells at him.
Right. But Wes is knocking down some threes at the old Kings Island.
Like I said, you like Wes Miller was a 5'9" walk-on that played at North Carolina.
Started.
He can shoot. He can shoot. He wasn't there for his boyish good looks.
Right. Exactly. But I think
although the female members of the fan base will disagree.
There we go. No comment out of me there. But aside from that, I mean, his release looks smooth though. Landers looked like he was knocking down some threes there. So I guess the rims are regulation size unless they're really, really locked in on those.
Or they're not, and those guys can just shoot.
They're locked in. And I am going to tip my cap to my own self a little bit. Knocked in 2 shots at the boardwalk in Disney. Bingo, bango, bongo. Was able to get my nephew a little basketball, a little celebration basketball, but that's about all I got out of that. Aside from that, I mean the team. We were able to walk by the Monster Factory on our way to Squat Fest, and I peeked my head in. It looks awesome, as awesome as it looks in the videos, and they were able to post their pictures after their workout this past on Friday.
Yeah, that was their last workout before getting a week off.
Some of us were even able to kick it in the Monster Factory after.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
You left too early.
Go home. I mean, first off, I thought that Squat Fest was at 6 a.m. And I was like, this is perfect. I'll be back in the office by like 11 to noon. I didn't end up leaving until like noon, which was fine. We got it all figured out. I'm here today, so that's all that matters. But I mean, Monster Factory's cool. Kalu Ezekbe ran by the strength staff of the football team while we were all in there for Squat Fest, and a couple of the guys who were on the pod last week were looking at him. They were like, "Who's that? Who was that guy?
Can we get him?
Can we add him? He's huge. He is huge." But so. And I can't confirm Kalu is huge. He's a big dude.
It's a big, strong human.
Big, strong dude. So, that's kind of all I got. Aaron, you're pretty excited tonight on the PTP. You've got the boys from the TBT, the Nasty Natty.
Yeah.
So you want to tease that a little bit and what you guys are you going to dive into their careers at UC and what they've been doing since, and then talk about the TBT and wrap it all up in a bow?
Well, we should have roughly about an hour with Kevin Johnson, Kane Broom, and Troy Calpain. Possibly, we'll see if Kevin was able to talk him into it, but possibly a Jacob Evans sighting. We shall see. And then next week, as we are covering the Nasty Natty in these group settings, we'll have Corey Blunt, Octavius Ellis, Shaq Thomas, and Coriante DeBerry. And then after that, should be game time. So just trying to get some conversations with some of these old heads. They have every intention of this not being a one and done type team, both in the actual tournament and going forward in the future. So they do want to see your support in any way that you can do so, as far as any type of donations that you can make to help out the team, or any type of showing up for like the alumni event, as that is like the NIL fundraiser and that type of thing. But just keep an eye out for any of those fundraisers. I'm sure we'll get into some of that conversation tonight anyway. So
my buddy plays for the Purdue TBT team, and I went to some of their games last year. And I tell you what, you look at the Cincinnati roster, and it's as impressive, if not even more impressive, than what I saw at the Columbus Regional last year. So
you certainly have some NBA talent on there with Jacob Evans, with Troy Calpain, with Trey Scott, Jaron Cumberland.
They're loaded.
Isaiah Miller.
Miller off the. If he's the sixth man, I'd like to know a better sixth man out there.
He won't do that. If he's on that team, he ain't the sixth man.
Can't see him being a sixth man on that team.
Right. No, I agree. But
I love those guys.
I don't know if they wanted to do an all Cincinnati starting five. But no, I mean, what if you go Troy, Jaron, Jake, Trey, Octavius. There we go. Oh wow.
Tonk,
I
I have
Tonk, you gotta pay for us to put that one up on the screen.
No.
don't
don't
do it. Jokes. But anyway,
moving on.
So let's go ahead and timestamp this. We'll hop in the mailbag and wrap it up, guys.
What do we time this as? Tonk makes things awkward for everyone.
Basketball leads to an awkward Tonk comment. Any clue what's going on with Keith Williams? I saw he's in. I don't want to say it. Is it the Canadian League or he's hooping with some league. He's been posting some things on his Instagram. So he's playing professionally. Let me see if I can look it up real quick. But
I mean, they should be in town next week, so I would guess there'll be a lot of basketball being played.
Looks like the Nuggets. Yeah.
Chenault said.
The Australian Nuggets. There you go. Good for Keith, man. Good for Keith.
Good for Keith.
Is Kane's not playing on the TBT team, right?
He's the assistant coach / GM.
Okay.
He's done playing and will be transitioning to a new position very soon. I don't believe it's been announced yet, so I don't want to.
Okay. It is not.
So don't steal his thunder.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what we do at BCJ, though.
What, steal people's thunder?
No, not steal.
Yeah, we don't steal people's thunder. Right. We do the opposite of that.
Exactly. All right, we got the BBP. I mean the mailbag lined up and ready.
If you'd like to sponsor the mailbag, my DMs are also open for that as well.
Lock and load.
All right. So, like we talked about earlier, the mailbag's not super full today, but
if you have questions, you can plop them in the chat as well.
Yeah, I put every question that we have
for a fee.
Put every question that we had on here, but as there isn't much, so what are your thoughts and opinions on the Big 12 possibly adding Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah? I know we went into detail on that, but in the actual mailbag, they go on in a little detail. I mean, as a whole, too, not just what their football teams bring / don't bring to the conference.
I mean, you're adding the Arizona markets, which I think are big because those are growing rapidly. Colorado, you get Denver for all intents and purposes. Although you need to, Colorado is kind of emphasized athletics a little bit. They're not the same Colorado that they were when they left the Big 12 and went to the Pac-12. So I think that would be interesting. And you have the bad blood that still kind of exists between Colorado and some of those Big 12 schools.
Right.
So awkward.
You're not going to put the next one up?
I can't see it. I can't even see it.
Is that question go. Is the is the talks that there was about like what I believe was the California and Washington state governor's office was putting out some like law about state schools and
Texas did the same thing when Texas left. Like the state of Texas did the same thing when Texas left. Like,
and they just
doesn't mean shit. It's just a waste of taxpayers' money. Get out of here with that talk. I'm not here for it. I think the biggest thing about bringing Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, Utah is you seal up some of those rivalries that you were talking about earlier that makes college football a little bit more special, with Utah, BYU being interstate rivals. You'd have Arizona and Arizona State coming together. Colorado's at least still regionally makes sense with some of those other schools, not to mention adding a Colorado, you'd have that 4 point where all 4 of those states make the 4 points. Just something.
The 4 corners, they call it.
Thank you. I was almost there.
You were close.
Right there.
I just had to shove you across the finish line.
Story of my life.
You still have that Survivor thing in your back pocket, though. So,
guys, enough. Stop right now, or I'm going to kick everybody out of the chat.
Just mute everyone.
Knock it off. Don't make me turn this car around.
So I don't know. I think there's something to be said for just the regional, like what that would potentially bring. Although if you add an Oregon and a Washington, that'd just make everything way more fun. Have you heard anything about the Summer Fan Fest they announced when the spring game was moved inside?
I have not. If anybody at UC is listening, hi JQ. If anybody at UC is listening, hit me up if there's any details to be had about the Fan Fest.
All right. Any updates on the recruiting front? Also, any new names outside of Thompson, LZ Brown? Thanks.
It is what it is. Like we've covered it on the board as much as we can cover it. We're just waiting on announcements from LZ and Brown. Thompson, it gets the feeling like he's gonna probably play this thing out a little bit more because he didn't get to take visits on those last couple weeks. Other than that, things are pretty status quo. As always, the recruiting information you seek is on the boards.
I'm curious to see what, if anything, this realignment may change for guys who either A, already recruited to some schools who may or may not get left out in this whole realignment thing, or B, guys that were maybe close to a decision and decide to slow play. Might be interesting.
Is there a requirement to have a buzz cut and a beard to be on this podcast? I didn't have a buzz cut until 30 minutes ago, and Brent's got plenty of hair. That's what my hair looked like up until 30 minutes ago. I
always do this. Like, this isn't new. I just didn't wear a hat today. Why? Because I have no hair and don't need one.
Don't need one. Yeah.
I had my hood up prior to this.
You did. That's
around the house. Yeah.
Another thing about the football recruiting, the Brady Dragish article or story real quick that was posted by
Steve
Wiltfong.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome. Because I mean he's a guy that just consistently looks like he's gonna not only improve and as his passing catches up with his athletic ability. I mean, got a diamond in the rough written all over it, but I'm excited to see what he's able to do once he gets in and under the tutelage of Brady and Gino and everybody. Rock and roll.
Chad, any thoughts on trying to get Bill Conley on a podcast to discuss anything and everything Bearcats and Big 12?
That's a Dave deal. Dave handles national guests for the BCJ pod. So Dave, Laxcat wants you to get Bill Conley on to discuss anything and everything Bearcats and Big 12. So that's on.
Get on it, Dave. Get on it.
Get on it.
All right. Name the starting DBs: boundary, field, slot, safety. I guess that's safety. Safety. Has anything changed over the summer from the spring or since Squat Fest? Will JQ start by year's end? I think we're all on the record.
Has anything changed since Friday?
Well,
no.
I was gonna say I think we're all on the record as saying JQ is going to start by year's end.
I think so. I think Boundary, I think is going to be Arquan.
Yeah.
Field, my guess is Bumpus to start, but JQ is going to be breathing down his neck there.
Mm-hmm.
Slot, Taj Ward, Sammy Anderson battling camp.
Yeah, I like what I saw at Sammy on Friday too. Yeah. He's a guy that's mixing with all the big.
You can tell he's growing into it. Like he's becoming more confident. He's a little bit more outgoing and comfortable in his skin and his role. I think he's going to put up a hell of a battle to be the starter in the slot. Safety, obviously, Javon Hicks. Safety 2 right now. Oh, there's so many guys that are going to battle for that spot. But I think if I'm picking right now, I'm going Threats.
Yeah. Dingler Threats seems to be the the
Dingle,
two that are kind of
Dingle or threats, or I mean, I wouldn't count out Amorion. Like
right.
he started to flash a lot more as we got towards the end of spring.
Yeah.
I think those three guys will be in a pretty good battle.
Jaquan Shepard at corner as well is another guy who kind of.
I think he'll be right behind Bush as the number 2 boundary.
I'll be interested to see if they kind of do the thing that they were doing during Sauce's freshman year, where they kind of rotated a little bit more, and then once they find the perfect grouping, then stick with that the rest of the way.
I mean that's not really what they were doing though until
right. It was more of
UCF.
just that UCF game, but it did seem like tossing Kobe around on either side, and then Cam Jeffries obviously went through his little.
A lot of that was because Kobe wasn't working as a boundary,
right?
Like, that just clearly he was more of a field than a boundary. So getting him back to where he was naturally more comfortable, I think, was a must. And then figuring out what are we going to do at field.
Yeah.
They eventually landed on Sauce. So it's still going to be watching the field competition, watching the competition at slot, watching the competition or nickel, I guess would be more appropriate than slot. And then watching number 2 safety play out. Like, I think those are all going to be things that, will continue through higher ground.
Well, and as much time as he spent here on campus here over the offseason, I wouldn't be surprised to see Sauce line back up at the outside again with his last year of eligibility.
They ain't paying him $35 million.
I think my favorite.
They didn't get the NIL deal worked out. I thought they were
not that one.
Working on that one.
My favorite Sauce moment from him being there at Squat Fest was as he's walking by with his free Chick-fil-A, and people are like, he's got free breakfast. He can't pay for his own breakfast, and somebody mentions, yeah, he could buy a Chick-fil-A. What are you talking about? And I was like, hey, that's how rich people stay rich. They don't spend their money. And Sauce holds it up in his hand. And he goes, damn right.
You want to do this question real quick? Since football assistants might have some free time, get them on the pod. They don't have any free time right now.
This is vacation time, if anything.
This is vacation time this week, and then next week it's full steam ahead towards the season. OTAs, camp, season. So I tried a couple times to make things work throughout the summer. But there was a lot that, they were either traveling or schedule didn't match up. Traveling for recruiting, that's what I mean. Yeah. I tried a couple times to get Gino on and get a couple people on, but schedule wise, those dudes, that is a full-time job, man. It is. You have to have the stars aligned just right.
I mean, let's go back to you going on vacation and Andre Morgan hopping on with Brent and I for 45 minutes, 17 missed phone calls.
Right.
What are the odds that we'll see Arch Manning playing Nippert against UC? Would you even care if that happened?
I don't think he starts his freshman year, so probably not good. And I don't think they send Oklahoma or Texas to Nippert. Would I care? I guess it would be cool. Like, to see him.
I just want to beat Texas at Nippert. Like, that's all I want. I just want to bring Texas in here, get that 2009 redemption game.
A nip at night. Oh yeah, man, that would just.
We win by a field goal. Wouldn't that be the icing on the cake?
Yeah.
Or they win with the ball in the air as time expires on a pass out.
And they actually call it game over. Yeah. Kind of like it.
I don't know that Carrie's much. Has Carrie done podcasts?
I don't know, but I'd love to hear his hashtags out loud. Like if he just read
just
like
did the whole
read your tweets where you just have the longest hashtags. Like go back.
And he just jumbled the words all together, so you're still trying to figure out what exactly he said. You're like, wait a minute.
How'd you write a paragraph with a hashtag, Carrie?
It's impressive.
So that's the football portion of the mailbag. Basketball portion, 2023 recruiting. Are we waiting on commitments from Collier Page and D. Thomas in September and then move down the board from there if necessary? Guys like Jizzle James.
Yeah,
trade
pretty
candidates
much. I
are
mean,
out.
you'll have a better idea as we get through July. Again, things start Thursday, July recruiting period. So coaches are on the road Thursday through Sunday. Then there's somewhat of a week off, and then they're back on the road the following week. I think like the 19th through the 24th, 25th, something like that. I'll be out both weekends. I'm going to Adidas for sure this weekend. Catch Ravon a couple more times this summer. And there's a couple targets, Adidas targets, that I think we maybe need to focus on a little bit more. And then that second week, I'll be at Pete's Jam, which is where most of these guys are playing. You'll get a real good feel by that second week who coaches are prioritizing as soon as they hit the road, right? Like, as soon as they're out and about in that final week, like that's your final push before you start scheduling fall visits. We'll have a pretty good idea on the hierarchy of things between now and, the 24th, 25th, something like that.
Obviously, Collier would be the biggest domino to start falling on any of this.
Yeah, but he's out for the summer, so we're not going to get much of a feel on that.
2024, Delquan Warren looks like he was on campus. Probably another one of those last second.
Yeah, I mean, they're interested. I don't think, it's 2024, so it was an unofficial. He just stopped by. I don't think there was anything like major to take from it other than I know he was there the same day Ravon and McKinley there, and they were like, "Oh, that's that dude from Wildcat Select that can bounce." He's like 6'1" and just dunks on people's heads.
And they played against each other in that game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They played against each other.
Ravon was on the Blue Chips team. I mean, he's got offers from like Alabama and Ohio State. And
Dayton. He's a 2024 to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Totally random question. The Big O used to be at most home games in the old Fifth Third, but I don't think I've ever seen him at the new arena. Any particular reason why?
I don't think he lives in Cincinnati anymore.
There you go.
Yeah.
That would be why.
All right. That is the basketball portion of the mailbag.
There we go.
So moving on to the Banks portion. How long would it take you to knock out Tommy Tuberville in a boxing match?
It would have to be early because boxing's one of those things, man.
You don't want to get worn down.
You can
get tired.
Punch yourself out in 90 seconds in a boxing ring.
Right.
So I'd have to take his old ass out in the first 60 seconds if I'm gonna
rough and rowdy style. Yeah.
Yeah. You just come in there. Those dudes don't have any game. They start swinging.
I think Brent's got the best chance against him though.
Why? Biggest punch?
I don't know. I mean,
power.
I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Broadest shoulders.
Chad, you've been around Tommy when he was the coach here. Is he a coach that's in the weight room getting a workout in, or
if you consider swinging golf clubs in the weight room, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think Brent's got the reach on everybody too. He might have the reach.
Yeah, that would be important. I'd have to go inside. Like
not much of a reach. You wouldn't have much of a reach on me compared to me, but right. I think you still got me by an inch or two. We'll leave it there.
Close.
Anyway,
we'll leave it.
Rapid fire. Popcorn or candy at a movie?
Popcorn.
100%. Yep. Are you putting the stuff on it though, like the seasonings?
I'm hammering it with butter. Hammering it with butter.
Good.
Layer it.
But I do love nonpareils. We've talked about that.
What's that?
Nonpareils are delicious. The little tiny chocolate things with the white on them.
Snow caps?
Nonpareils. Yeah, nonpareils, snow caps.
Okay.
Same thing.
For Aaron, pull and pray or abstinence? Jesus, what is wrong with you?
Oh my God.
Get a baby doing 3 weeks.
Also, always go for the gold. Maker's Mark or Buffalo Trace?
Buffalo Trace.
I guess Buffalo Trace. Like Maker's Mark's okay. If I'm gonna get Maker's Mark, I would get Woodford. Same price point. I like Woodford better. So I'd go Buffalo Trace.
Probably same. So that is the mailbag.
Oh wow.
That's
Told
it.
you, short and sweet. People didn't expect it to be on a Tuesday. I get it.
Right.
So that's kind of where we are. But there's been roughly something over 100 of you knuckleheads in here today. So I'm just surprised we didn't see more questions during the mailbag in the chat. So if you didn't have a question answered today that you still have burning inside you, that's on you.
Yeah. You
Is
missed
what
out
it
on your
is.
opportunity. The hottest opportunity in the land. Special Tuesday edition BBP.
I mean, we could invoke like the standard rule we've had, Aaron. We can't stop until we're under 75 people.
Well, you guys can keep doing that then, because I have 2 kids who've been very good upstairs and have not been fighting.
So you got to go handle business.
I'm taking that as a very small victory, but let's go.
All right.
Yeah. It was a good one though. It was a good one. Thanks everyone for hopping in and joining. Obviously, Tonk, if you want to sponsor the timestamps, hit up Chad. We'll go from there.
It would probably be cheaper than paying for every single one at $5. No.
Yeah.
If over the course of a month,
maybe.
Depends on how
but
many.
Then there'll be some times that he's busy and he's not here live, so we won't be here to do the $5 live.
Depends on how many segments we had, I suppose.
Yeah, it's very show dependent.
If you had anything to promote, we could actually talk about it with all the $5. Good God, not whatever you were trying. Well, not whatever you were trying to promote at the end there.
Aaron, they've got me a little worried about what the kids are doing upstairs. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, the silence is scary.
So scary.
And your internet works, so they're not playing Fortnite.
I'm aware. All of these things have already crossed my mind.
And you're in charge? Like she's at work?
She's at work, yeah.
Tuesday
mailbag is like Tuesday Mac games on ESPN. Amen.
That's fair.
Another good
analogy. Thank you for the donations today, man. Clutch.
Amen.
I love it.
Appreciate you.
Completely agree.
Love it.
Completely agree. Well, hey guys, huge thank you to Danco Transmission. Thank you all for joining in and listening on this special Tuesday edition of the BBP. More than likely, I'd say 99% chance we're back Monday night next week, unless something crazy happens or a random holiday pops upon us. But
Monday afternoon, 2 p.m.
Or if there's an emergency that we have to pop in on to cover in between now and then.
Oh yeah, the Big 12 adds 12 new teams.
Big 12 Pac-12 merger.
Thanks, Deanna. We enjoyed it as well. We got to work on Brent. Aaron and I are typically free during the day. The people like daytime BBPs. Brent.
Yeah, Brent. It was triple digits pretty much the whole show.
Interesting. Well, I'll see what I can do. But hey, guys, yet again, thanks for listening. Yet again, thank you to Danco Transmission for good pals, good buddies, guys that now have a little bit of time before their late nightcaps. And Aaron, your PTP tonight. I'm excited to hear about that. But hey, for Aaron Smith and Chad Brendel, I am Brent Young. Yet again, another fantastic BBP presented by BearcatJournal.com.
Sip.
How are we?